You're listening to Your Brain on Air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy. आप अपने मस्तिष्क को हवा पर सुन रहे हैं। कार्यक्रम जल्द ही शुरू होगा। आनंद लें। Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Ollie Vogt Larson. Living is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all that you see. It's getting hard to be someone, but it all works out. It does not matter much to me. If you wish to continue living in strawberry fields, who am I to deny someone the pleasure that they seek in life? Now, if your pleasure is robbery, rape, or killing people, at least become a politician so it lines up. You can be Republicuck, Demo-rat, it doesn't matter. Your wives still want to sleep with black guys more than they want to sleep with you. AOC is the left's Yoko Ono. They should let her do a solo career if she really wants that. Same thing with Greg Abbott on the right, by the way, advocating for Diwali observance in the great state of Texas. From the left, you got people onboarding illegals en masse. On the right, you got the masses of migrants just taking over certain neighborhoods. Don't believe me? Walk around any apartment complexes within a mile radius of your local Walmart. Who else is working at the Walmart? It ain't anyone born here these days, I'll tell you that. I was in a Walmart the other day. I felt like I was in a market in Abbottabad, Pakistan. Every cashier, shelf stalker, assistant, you name it, all people with an accent or people who did not speak English. I'm not saying I don't want them here. I just want like way less of them here. And I want them to have the time they need to adopt the American lifestyle and culture. Because immigration without assimilation is unfortunately a level of an invasion. Nothing we can do about that. It's just true. I'm tired of glares because I asked you a question in plain English and yours is at best broken. Isn't it weird that Americans in general have completely abandoned the idea that the immigration system was designed and created to benefit the nation that it belongs to? Isn't that like that really common sense, easy thing to get behind? It's weirdly racist now. Suddenly, you're like a white supremacist if you believe in the idea that the government system should protect, its native population from dilution, which is exactly what's happening. The culture is being diluted. But if you say anything like that, suddenly your white as fuck family or friends, they'll start looking at the ground. They'll get all uncomfortable, weird, and quiet. They'll just go, yeah, I don't know. It's like super complicated. Suddenly, Mr. Open Borders doesn't know anything about the topic that he's very passionate about. Suddenly, the expert that they were self-proclaimingly so, they are not suddenly such an expert. Suddenly, they know nothing about their arguments, and their arguments ultimately boil down to they're human. And man, they just deserve the land that your ancestors came here legally to. No matter how they got here, they just want the dream, okay? Yeah, you know what? So did my family. My family had a dream. They said Finland sucks. They said Norway sucks. They said Panama sucks. Let's move somewhere where the mosquitoes don't give you malaria and somewhere where you can eat something other than reindeer. But guess what, ladies and gents? Truth bomb coming. They came over and they were subject to review. They were subject to check-ins, tests. Citizenship used to be treated in the hearts of Americans and minds, as like a very treasured thing. Nowadays, we want to treat it as like an inherent right. Citizenship is earned via one of two means, American parents or assimilation. And I'm going to be so honest, it's going to hurt a lot of feelings. Quite honestly, mild abandonment of one's original culture. You think great-grandpa was speaking Suomi Finnish or outside the house? Absolutely not. You think grandma was speaking Spanish outside the house? No, they understood that they came to a pre-established land with pre-established cultures and ties, and if they didn't like it, they shouldn't have moved here. I'm sorry, I'm not a whatever generation Finnish person. I'm not a whatever generation Panamanian Norwegian. I'm an American. America is my culture. America is my home, and I accept its influence and its agenda for the most part. I saw the CIA poisoning colored communities with drugs, and I understood it was the colored people's fault for taking it in the first place. Same with Appalachia. It's whiteys just ruining their own lives. I'm an American, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, my government has foreign representatives, Freemasons, Jesuits, trying to kill and enslave me every single day. It's still better than the UK, because in the UK, this show would be illegal. Still better than Germany, because in Germany, this show would be illegal. Still better than Ghana, because this show wouldn't exist. I would be a baboon hunter, hunting the olive baboon. I would have calloused feet. I'd be eating honey out of trees with my bare hands. I'd probably be a lot happier because technology wouldn't have poisoned my perspective, but it's too late for me now to become a mountain man in West Montana, so I'm doing this instead. I'm bringing you the latest, greatest nuggets of news intermingled with truth bombs so intense and Christ-like like in their accuracy that I will surely be rejected by my friends, family, and community. I am like Cassandra. I am the Trojan princess cursed by Apollo with the gift of prophecy, but no one would ever believe her. That was like the thing that really hinged on the debate. My brother Paris is about to kidnap Helen of Detroit. I know it's going to go terribly. I warned them. Our parents, King Priam, Queen Hecuba, they will have me locked away. I'm a mad woman, they said. She's crazy, they said. Folks, one day they will learn to listen to Cassandra, saving one's life from oneself. Now, allow my Cassandra-like foresight to inform you on the latest goings-on in this thing we're doing called life. All right, let's get to it. Sorry. Russia has unleashed a staggering wave of 729 incoming targets overnight, blanketing the country in a simultaneous assault of 65 score drones and nearly 75 missiles. Ukrainian officials confirm that at least 17 civilians have been killed and well over 100 have been wounded as advanced hypersonic ballistic and cruise missiles intentionally slammed into civilian infrastructure and residential neighborhoods across the nation. Very curious. The conflict in general in Ukraine, I thought many people forgot about it, in all honesty. It was so not top of mind. You know what I mean? We're willing to fund it only as far as we don't have to look at it, as long as we don't have to be sending our sons and daughters to die. You know, if we're willing to send a couple billion to Ukraine for their defense package, suddenly they're a great Western ally that we really need to be worried about. I get it. For some reason, this democracy that's not really a practicing democracy, it's so deeply important to us. Kyiv is not that nice. I've looked at it as a capital city, and I'm like, I don't even understand why the Russians want it. I get why they do. They go, I think that, like, we were the Kievan Rus. We deserve. Do you know where Kievan Rus gets its name? Kyiv. So, we have a homeland tie to it to some extent, and I'm just gonna say it. I don't love the fact that we're gonna have to end up giving that entire section to Russia, but it's gonna probably end up happening. The kind of like drug that took over everybody's mind in 2021, the idea that this goon, Zelensky, was ever going to push forward anything meaningful for a country that has about as much military strength as, like, Belarus, you know what I mean? I'm talking about a small Eastern European country. We really shouldn't have given a fuck, in my personal opinion, in this whole conflict. I'm not a Russian spy. I'm not telling you that we need to turn over all of our deeds to Russia, that we need to worry. I think that it was actually the entire strategy that we took with them, where we still treated them as this sort of weird alien type force even after the USSR fell apart. This was the time to fold them into the system. If you really want that world peace bullshit, you should have pursued some degree of, like, all right, let's onboard the Russian population. Not saying they got to move to your countries. They can stay in their own lands, but let's do something. Let's help you guys get your economy going. Let's influence it to be Western. Let's build up something that we can all we can benefit. Then that would have also been a great idea in order to slam the dollar down their throat. That we should have been on lock. We should have been on it. Treaty, land, do this, missiles here, missiles there. I'm saying, like, listen, not that we initiate an invasion, but we allow them. Maybe we should have broken up Russia a little bit more, by the way. A country should not be this big. I think that we need, like, the diaspora communities that are slowly tearing apart the Russian country itself. It's like China. It's like China, where they had the diaspora communities on the countrysides of their borders and whatnot. They spread themselves too thin, unfortunately. A lot of people are tough to keep in line and order, like, especially with Russia.
Ukraine is calling for urgent help from the U.S. after a deadly large-scale Russian strikes. Ukrainian officials...
Now listen. I'm hearing where, here they also struck the central city of Dnipro, where 11 people, including 2 young children, were killed when a 4-story apartment complex was leveled in the bombardment. Listen, I'm so sorry to see this. I'm so sorry to hear about this. We're losing apartment complexes in Southern California. We're losing them in Texas. We're losing them all over the country, ladies and gentlemen, because fires. You know what I mean? Fires. I'm not saying that we have to worry about missiles falling from the sky, but America, we have our own problems, that's for sure. Listen, Ukraine, I know that you've had a bit of a kerfuffle going on the last few years. The level of support that the Americans owe you've dramatically overestimated.
Say Russia launched more than 70 missiles and more than 600 drones, mainly targeting the capital of Kyiv. They say at least 17 people are dead and more than 100 are injured.
Happens, man.
President Zelensky says Ukraine urgently needs help from the U.S. and Europe. ABC's Patrick Reevell has the latest on that from London. Patrick, what's happening with these Russian strikes?
Hi, Dan. Yeah, this was a very heavy Russian attack overnight. It came in waves. We saw, as you say, more than 70 missiles and over 600 drones, mostly targeting Kyiv.
So Russia also, in case you don't know, they're in on the idea of Gog and Magog. They're into the idea of this war that is going to leave no country untouched. They're into the idea, because Russia is an Orthodox society. They believe in the idea of the Testament coming to fruition. They believe in the idea of revelations. They are just as entrenched as, I would say, the Israeli government is, as the Persians are, because of their extremist ideas around the Quran and whatnot. You have these esoteric obsessions, quite frankly, in many of these people's minds, where they think the world is going to come to end here pretty soon, especially when the Euphrates River dries up. That's a lot of... The Euphrates River is drying up at such an extent that many people believe that this is it. In the biblical text, it says that once that river dries up, they will see it as the time. That is a biblical indication that the revelation, the end times, whatever your religion calls it, is upon us. So, in order to prep for all this, I think that they're like, fuck it, we're just going to take... Ukraine was a miniature state that the West was barely able to prop up even when it began its existence, so why not? We're just going to turn it over and turn it into like our southwest corner. It's going to be like one of our states that we're proud of. Maybe they'll bring back beautiful architecture. Maybe they'll actually, like, you know what I mean? It'll look like Anastasia. You know the scene where they're all dancing around St. Petersburg? Maybe, and I'm not saying I want this for the Ukrainian people, but I'm saying you got a lot of like free space now with all of those buildings getting leveled. You're gonna need like some good architects that are gonna come in there, make your town feel like a little Christmas special. That's what you need.
So badly hitting the southern city of Dnipro. Dozens of residential buildings were damaged. There were explosions on the skyline all night. You could see thick smoke rising over Kyiv in the morning as well. In Dnipro, at least 11, or I should say even now 12 people were killed, among them at least 2 young children. And in particular, we saw Russia launch a very large number of ballistic missiles, which is the most difficult thing for Ukraine to shoot down right now.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Really to do so with US-made interceptor missiles, and that is why you are seeing President Zelensky issue again this plea for the US to help with that, Diane.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that you guys have problems in your country. I'm sorry that you have issues, and I'm sorry that you want to blame the United States, because you'll see this. You'll see this even from Americans. They go, well, we owe them. We owe them. We owe the Ukraine. What exactly? What do we owe them? Excuse you? You're meaning to tell me that that Kathy Newmaker in Bing-Shaling, Iowa, you mean to tell me that she owes the Ukrainian people her hard-earned money because, I don't know, a foreign power is threatening to overturn, and no, we gotta help out. We gotta do this. By the way, it's weirdly like the Democrats that are on the side of we need to get back out there for Ukraine. It's them, the anti-war people, the idea that, like, we're not the world police. What are we doing just toppling over these... What are we doing? This is ridiculous. But they're all in on the Ukraine conflict. They're like, no, that's our conflict. Like, they had the Ukraine pins. They had all of that. They supported, like, when Mark Ruffalo had it on the fucking Golden Globes and shit. They're just like, it's mindless. It's mindless, just sort of like, yeah, the idea is... We're like West, and we're like pretty bad. So like that must mean that any country that is struggling anywhere in the world, well, we probably wronged them at one point in our long time existence. So like we kind of owe the population. I'll never understand the mentality of we, the American citizens, owe another civilian, another citizen, another country, anything. That's a ridiculous concept in my mind. I think that a government should be existent only to benefit its own people. That's it. I'm sorry to say it. I don't think that we are in debt to any other nation. I don't think that we belong to any other nation. Do we need to forge relations? Do we need to work with some of them? Obviously, sure, some of them we do. But it's been proven that the United States is perfectly fine taking a moral stance. They're like, oh, we're so disgusted with the idea that North Koreans are like, they're torturing people in their underground prisons and whatnot. They neglect to ignore the fact they were doing that throughout the entire war on terror. They were kidnapping people off of battlefields, taking them into black site prisons and torturing them. CIA tortures people regularly. It's ridiculous. It's proven. It's out there. It's whatever. It's totally whatever. They just want you to focus on on the fact that we owe them. We're so bad. We're so bad. We owe them, and you need to open your billfold for them. All right, sorry, Ukraine. It's not my problem. You're the breadbasket of Europe. Maybe Europe can help you out. Europe. I think that would be a great idea. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the next story. CBS's Scott Pelley, accused Bari Weiss, the Big J, I miss the Big J, Barry, of murdering 60 Minutes. That is some strong language there, my guy. I don't know. Listen, I'm not the biggest fan of Barry as a person, but this is like a civil war at CBS News. The legendary 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley launched a blistering attack against the network's top leadership in a tense 15-minute staff meeting that completely boiled over. The veteran anchor openly accused CBS News editor-in-chief Bari Weiss of murdering the iconic, highly rated news magazine on television. The explosive audio, which leaked directly to national media outlets, captured Pelley's voice visibly shaking with anger as he leveled the extraordinary charge against his own corporate boss, declaring to stunned colleagues that Weiss was explicitly brought to the network to kill a 57-year-old institution. 60 Minutes is good. I've always enjoyed 60 Minutes as like a thing to throw on in the background. I used to listen to it at school and whatnot. Then people would go like, what are you listening to shit that my mom watches for? And it's like, you're dumb. You're like an actually stupid person. Is that, oh, what are you into? What, you want to watch like, I don't know, like reruns of 16? You want to watch like, I don't know, Total Drama Island? All right, shut the fuck up. You have no culture. You have no class. You have no taste. I'm not saying that Total Drama Island is not culturally interesting, but the Canadians are weird and their sense of humor is bizarre to me. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's a weird intermingling with like body gross humor and like the English style of humor that just occasionally works for me. Monty Python's only decent film was the Holy Grail. I believe that they had The Meaning of Life was another one, and I'm trying to remember them because it's been years since I've seen them, and maybe I need to rewatch them again because I was a child when I watched them then. This is getting off the point. 60 Minutes is an institution. Many people have watched it for years. I myself have. But this meltdown has triggered a complete corporate Black Friday purge orchestrated by Weiss, who abruptly fired the show's longtime executive producer Tanya Simon and veteran correspondents Sharon Alfonsi and Celicia Vega. Excuse me. God, when I'm reading names and sometimes they just get caught in my mouth, they don't want to come out. To replace them, Weiss tapped Nick Bilton, a former technology columnist and filmmaker with zero traditional broadcast experience. Bilton stood before a furious 60 Minutes staff on Monday morning and attempted to defend Weiss, claiming that she deeply loved the institution. Pelley immediately cut him off. The legendary newsman fired back, telling Bilton that his own qualifications were slender while blasting Weiss's recent editorial changes at CBS Evening News as flat-out catastrophic. All right, Scott Pelley, shut the fuck up, all right? I understand you cover the occasional story where like a town's water supply is being poisoned, but let's be honest, the majority of the programming that you have been putting out before Bari Weiss and also afterwards was sort of, it's like massaging media figures that you particularly enjoy. Listen, I'm not to say that 60 Minutes was always this compromised vision, but when we're doing pieces about Christopher Nolan's genius before the movie has even come out, I don't know what we're even doing anymore. I don't even understand what the point of this is. It's like when Mel Gibson was doing a movie, Passion of the Christ. I understand why people went over and interviewed him. I understand why was it Diane Sawyer? I'm trying to remember all of the old 2000s. I know 2000s is not old, but it kind of is. But whatever, it's old now. You know what I mean? Back in the 2010s, the 90s was old. Now the 2000s is old. It's over 20 years old. So sorry. I know it's hard to hear. Whatever. This is just, I think it's shocking, but it's not that shocking because I've gotten used to 60 Minutes doing massage pieces for people. It's ridiculous in my mind.
This morning, turmoil at 60 Minutes.
I'm Scott Pelley.
Veteran correspondent Scott Pelley blasting CBS News leadership in a fiery meeting Monday, accusing editor-in-chief Bari Weiss of murdering the revered show, according to a source in the room and an audio recording obtained by NBC.
Now, here's the thing, real quick, before we hear the audio recording, his charge hinges on the idea that Bari Weiss, listen, murder is very, very, it's a charge that is like you are intentionally attempting to do this. No. I think Bari Weiss is guilty of manslaughter. I don't believe her to be a knowing, I don't believe this was planned out. I think she's genuinely this retarded. I think that she was watching 60 Minutes. I think she was watching CBS News and she thought, oh, the issue with this media program is not that they lie to the American people, that they make up facts, that they will occasionally chase stories that have nothing to do with like anything. They will like it's absolute goy slop garbage. Of course, she would never use the term goy slop outside of Torah practice, but to imply murder, it means that you think that she is doing this of like intense volition. I think she genuinely thought the issue with 60 Minutes and like the CBS News was that there were not enough people crying because their father got them kicked out of Miami, much like Tony DeCopel's father. Listen, I think that she's just really, really unfortunately stupid. I don't think she knows what she's doing. Charge her with manslaughter, not murder.
The tense exchange came during a staff meeting with the brand new 60 Minutes executive producer, technology journalist and documentary maker Nick Bilton, who was tapped by Weiss last week, despite never having worked in traditional broadcast news.
Yeah, what she wants is to make 60 Minutes what many people thought it was, which is just sort of, it's filler. It's filler. She wants it to become the filler that everybody already assumed that it was, where she's like, I'm not going to get news people to run the news program. I'm going to get people who are filmmakers. I'm going to get I'm going to get James Gunn to run the like evening news. That's her idea.
At Monday's meeting, Bilton warned staff that broadcast is an ice cube that is melting, and the show must adapt. But added that Weiss loved 60 Minutes, according to the recording. At that, Pelley interrupted, saying firmly, she does not love this place. She was brought in to kill it, and she's been doing exactly that. Adding, she has no qualifications for her job, and telling his new boss directly, you have slender qualifications for this job. Former 60 Minutes head Bill Owens also blasting CBS Monday night.
Smell fraud from a mile away.
As concerns grow for the landmark show.
60 Minutes really is the crown jewel of American journalism. There's a lot of fear and anxiety among people.
The fiery meeting comes just days after Weiss fired the show's executive producer, Tanya Simon, her deputy, and two 60 Minutes correspondents. Among them, Sharon Alfonsi, whose story questioning the...
Not saying that means anything. She just decided to fire all women. She's like, we need to get the women out of here.
Trump administration's immigration policies was temporarily held by Weiss just before it was set to air in December. Alfonsi publicly calling that a political decision, while Weiss said the segment wasn't ready. Tensions between journalists and leadership had already been high since David Ellison took over CBS News parent company Paramount last year and appointed Weiss, a former columnist critical of legacy media, as editor-in-chief. Since then, the network and 60 Minutes has seen multiple shakeups, including the loss of star Anderson Cooper.
To give up something you've watched since you were a kid, yeah, I will miss this.
Now some wonder if the clock is ticking on a Sunday institution.
Well, no one watches it.
If the clock is ticking on Scott Pelley at CBS, long been one of the faces of the Tiffany network. What do we think is going to happen there?
Oh, he's out.
Well, listen, this meeting was confrontational. It was vitriolic. The New York Times reports that after...
Vitriolic? It's vitriolic. All right, whatever. It's her accent.
Was confrontational. It was vitriolic. The New York Times reports that after the executive producer walked out, the room erupted in applause. A source close to Scott Pelley tells us that current employees and former employees, including Sharon Alfonsi, reached out to Scott Pelley to thank him for his comments. Now, the show right now is on hiatus. It comes back in the fall, but a lot of people are asking that question. What is it going to look like when it does?
Yeah. All right.
Scott's out. Scott is out. Listen, he is the chicken, and you should, and I'm going to use a Chinese proverb for you. You should kill the chicken to scare the monkey. And I think she's smart enough to realize that it is up to her now to scare all of the monkeys that work. And I'm not saying this because they're black. The Chinese made up this term. You can look it up yourself. All right. It's mostly white people working there anyways. Not really real whites, Jewish people, but whatever. They're not technically white. I know people will argue with that. It's what doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is that Bari realizes the monkeys that are getting out of line, getting out of order. It's like, you are the show monkeys. If you want to cover legitimate news, you can do that on your own goddamn time. But when you're at 60 Minutes, you're going to be doing shows about fucking Christopher Nolan's Odyssey. You're going to be doing shows about how they're shooting it on IMAX. You're going to talk about shit that doesn't matter. You're going to talk about, and the rare things that you talk about that matter, no one's going to tune in for. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what the plan for 60 Minutes. She's going to not kill, but she will kill the chicken to scare the monkeys. But I was about to say she will kill Scott Pelley. They will kill him. They're probably not going to kill him. They're probably not. I'm guessing that, listen, Bari Weiss, Big J that she is, I assume that she's intermingled with the conspiracy side of things. So it's not unrealistic to assume that Scott Pelley, if you're the type of guy that like drives your own car these days or has a driver, I'm just going to be honest with you. Horses, they still haven't figured out a way to affect the brain of the horse. You know what I mean? The CIA can't put a chip in your horse's brain and then like send it the signals to like make it run you off a cliff or something like that. Like, that's what they'll do with your Nissan Altima. But when it comes to like transportation, Scott Pelley's got to be nervous because they got their eyes set on him. All right, they are ready. They are not gonna be like, oh, we're gonna fire you so that you're free to go do a podcast or whatever. They're like, we're gonna kill you this time. We're gonna kill you. Whatever. It doesn't matter. This is a satirical show. We're having fun. Ha ha ha. All right. Let's get into the rapid fire section of today's headlines. Lots of things y'all need to know in order to keep your media diet healthy. So, Trump has reportedly sworn at Netanyahu in a heated call about Lebanon. Well, he swore at him? How did this manage to make the news, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, listen, it's crazy that he would ever raise his voice to him. It's crazy that he would ever have any level of pushback. It seems like he's been a good and loyal goy this entire administration. He's been good and loyal to the powers that be in Jerusalem.
Thousands of government supporters rallied in Tehran overnight, not against the latest exchanges of fire with the U.S., but Israel's intensifying war in Lebanon, which has become the main sticking point, blocking a peace deal with Iran. While President Trump continues to push for a deal that could lower gas prices, Iran announced via state media that it suspended negotiations with Trump to open the Strait of Hormuz until the war in Lebanon is included in the agreement. The U.S. says talks with Iran are still happening. President Trump already brokered a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon in April, but it has not been holding. Israeli forces are now pushing deeper into Lebanon.
They're going to get there if you don't know the geography very well, the Litani River is likely the furthest that they're going to push. Not the furthest that they're going to go. Obviously, eventually we're going to get Greater Jerusalem, Greater Israel, where it encompasses a lot of Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Jordan, all those major countries, Syria and whatnot, and then it goes all the way from the Nile to the Euphrates. But this is like a necessary part of it, though, to put it up, to push our border up, not our border, out their border. Fuck. Now people are going to think I'm Israeli, whatever. The Litani River is the furthest north border that they're going to push until eventually they go to Turkey. Turkey is next on the chopping block. Just you wait.
Sending thousands of civilians into their cars yesterday to escape Israel's advance. Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, has been launching rockets at civilians in northern Israel and using drones to attack Israeli troops. President Trump said on Truth Social that he called Prime Minister Netanyahu and communicated indirectly with Hezbollah, writing, "They agreed that all shooting will stop, that Israel will not attack them, and they will not attack Israel." Axios, citing two sources, reports President Trump exploded on the call with Netanyahu, cursing, calling him crazy, and accusing the Prime Minister of ingratitude. Netanyahu's office and the White House haven't commented on the Axios report. Netanyahu agreed to pause attacks on the Lebanese capital, Beirut, but said in a statement the Israeli military will continue operating as planned in southern Lebanon.
They're not going to blow up Beirut just like the one time. I love the Beirut explosion, by the way. The Beirut explosion, it's a meme that me and my sister, we send each other every now and then when we need a laugh, but I'm so sorry, but it is true. The Beirut explosion, if anybody remembers, it was back in 2020. Very interesting time to be alive. Well, okay, a massive chemical detonation occurred August 4th in the port of Beirut, Lebanon. An uncontrolled fire in an adjacent warehouse ignited around 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate, AN, producing one of the most devastating blasts in recent history. We have video footage of like a woman who was getting her wedding photos taken, and we have there's video footage of this explosion everywhere. It's not hard to find. Here's the one of the woman taking her wedding photos. Here she is looking all pretty. They're just shooting her in this beautiful, corridor. Looks gorgeous. Boom. And her dress flies back. Suddenly, the entire street, every window's broken. Every window is busted. Oh, here's the inside of a church. Holy man, that's crazy. That's awesome. This family was sitting next to their window. They're so lucky that that window did not break into a million pieces and only fell on them. Ladies and gentlemen, this... If you are watching a fire at like a chemical plant, or if you're watching like a cloud of smoke form anywhere, make sure that you are not standing near any windows, because your body can probably survive the shock wave. It'll just shake up your atoms a little bit. But if you're standing next to glass or any breakable structure, it's gonna fly dust particles at you. It's gonna fly all that shit. It's gonna hurt. It's not gonna feel good, ladies and gents. I feel like I shouldn't be telling people this, but anyways, it's not as fun as the Beirut explosion. If you really want a good laugh, me and my sister, we share this one of the guy who's on a what's it called? One of those speed things where it's like a water jet ski. Excuse me. When I lose a vocabulary word, it's hard for me to get it. But he's on a jet ski and he's watching the factory burn, and then boom, you see the cloud coming towards him. He jumps into the water in order to avoid it. It still manages to, you can hear it shake the camera. It's awesome. It's hilarious. It's terrible. Terrible. I hope nobody died. I mean, people did die, but whatever. It's sad. It's unfortunate. What can we do about it?
A Hezbollah leader said the group would stop shooting if Israel stops fighting across the country. Not the same terms. So a broader peace deal still appears elusive. And more indications just this morning that Israel has no intention of slowing down its war in southern Lebanon. The Israeli military issuing new evacuation orders for Lebanese civilians to leave parts of the area. Craig.
Our chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel. Richard, thank you.
Richard, thank you. We really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, our next story, why don't we? Also, yeah, apparently Iran's president reportedly has submitted a resignation letter. What is this?
Welcome to Fox News Live. I'm Marianne Rafferty. A potential peace deal between the U.S. and Iran remains in limbo after President Trump reportedly asked for several changes to an agreement reached by both sides last week. The request follows a Friday meeting with his national security team. Axios reports the changes include tougher language on Iran's nuclear commitments and its pledge to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The president is also apparently concerned about financial relief for Tehran under the proposal. The volley of proposed changes coming a week after Trump declared a deal largely finalized. Adding to the uncertainty, reports out of Iran claim President Masoud Pezeshkian has submitted his resignation, saying his...
I can mispronounce the names because I'm not on national TV. I'm talking to a bunch of people who are just interested in stuff like me. I can, skip it comes out messy, the names, I just mispronounce it sometimes. But if you're getting Fox News money, no excuse.
Pezeshkian has submitted his resignation, saying his government has been sidelined by hardline factions. President Trump warning the U.S. is ready to resume military action if needed.
If needed. That's the thing, is if needed. All right. Whether or not they have a president is interesting. Whether or not they continue to... their leadership seems to be operated purely from tunnels underneath various cities or just in the middle of the desert. It's crazy, but whatever. Tech companies are facing a reckoning over the AI spending. Listen, a lot of insider consumer reports, investor reports, they won't tell you this, but a lot of the times when it comes to the AI speculation, banks are starting to look on this very suspiciously. Investors, Wall Street, everybody is starting to think about this as, how are we really going to turn a profit? How are we going to really grow the market here? Because they realize that they're creating a product that everybody morally disagrees with. So, latest statistics show that about half of everybody is feeling as though the AI bubble is about to burst. You know, it's unfortunate. It's regrettable for the people who have invested in it heavily. I have not, thankfully. It's like the college scheme where it's like, oh, a lot of people have fallen into debt. I never went to college because I knew that they would never. It is unbecoming of my genius to allow them to think they could teach me anything is ridiculous, and it's less than me. I am the high commander. I don't deserve that sort of treatment. It's disgusting. But tech companies, let's hear what they're facing about this.
To slow down its use of AI. Major companies have already exhausted their annual budgets. Some say it's getting more difficult to justify the costs. Get this, one consultant told Axios a client accidentally spent $500 million on AI in just a month.
Oh.
The unnamed company failed to put usage caps on Claude licenses for its workers. Emily Bari is Assistant Managing Editor for Market Watch, and she covers technology. Joins us now in studio to break this all down for us. I guess it's a bit of sticker shock. Emily, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Emily.
Some of these companies, but how did we get here? How did we get AI being pitched as a money saver to companies in real time realizing, wait a minute, it's way more expensive than they calculated for?
Yeah, so I think when regular people think about AI, they might not be paying for it. They might use a free version of ChatGPT and stuff like that. But for companies to really get the most out of AI, to do the most futuristic things with AI agents, they are paying for AI. They're paying a lot of money for AI. You know, when regular people are even using the free service, that costs a lot of money behind the scenes.
Is it just me, or she like she just doesn't know very much about this topic? She sounds like me trying to half-ass a topic, because on this show, you can tell when I'm like leaning into a story, I haven't read all the details on it. If it's just come up on my docket and I want to share it with you guys, you can tell when I'm trying to like give you a synopsis, but even I'll encourage people to do their own research, because even when I know that I'm not solid on a topic, I'm not solid on a topic. She is trying to convince you with word alchemy that she is just on point. She's dialed in. She knows what the industry wants. I don't know that she knows anything, in all honesty. She has yet to prove that to me.
Now, companies have to foot the bill if they're doing the most advanced AI features and they're running up huge budgets. You hear stories of companies having workers compete against each other to use the most AI tokens, they're called, to show that they're super productive and building the future. But that's coming at a cost, and I think companies.
You got to eliminate the fillers from your speech when you're in this sort of field. Every single second that you are not filling the space, you see how it's getting harder to listen to my words. You see, once you start talking in this slow, like almost I want to build tension way, it doesn't work for people. Go ahead.
I think they might have to pump the brakes a bit.
And for the uninitiated, tokens effectively allow companies to use special agents or make special data-heavy requests that can be capped and limited. So what is token maxing, I guess, a new phrase we're all learning about, and how is it shaping how companies approach AI?
Yeah, you're hearing stories about like companies having almost like leaderboards in the office for people who use the most tokens. And on one hand, you can think, oh, those employees are super productive. They're building the future of the company. They're, using AI to the max, and they're going to build amazing products that make us a ton of money in the future. But the other side of that is that if you're basically telling people, go spend as much more money as you can to build AI, compete against each other, see who spends the most money, like that's probably not the best company culture.
Right, this reminds me of the folks who send a lot of emails.
Yeah.
It's like, don't flood my inbox. That, doesn't mean productivity.
Oh my God, you both are the most dull human beings I've heard in my life. I will talk. Okay, let's talk about something else that's more interesting, because we're losing people. We're losing people. I have to inject something in order to get the adrenaline running in this goddamn corpse that is a show. All right, Democratic lawmakers have introduced a bill that would give 12 days of paid leave to workers for each year for reproductive health, including period pain, menopause symptoms, symptoms and endometriosis flare-ups. This is the stupidest shit I've heard of in my life. Just because you have genitalia that does not look like mine, you do not deserve these privileges. I'm so sorry to say it. We need this. I know it's called the HER agenda, the Health Equality Rights agenda, and it was introduced by Representative Yasamin Ansari, who I know she sounds like Aziz Ansari. She might be related. She emphasized that the bill is not just for women. It can be leveraged by men for fertility treatments, vasectomies, and other reproductive health issues. Then why call it the HER agenda? Ladies and gentlemen, this is some of the stupidest shit in my life. I've grown up around people. They experience the menstrual cramps. I've met the individuals. They got the endometriosis, and I'm just gonna say it. They seem like they're doing perfectly fine. I've met and I know they're gonna go, you don't know, you've never felt it, you'll never feel it. Yeah, thank God. I'm grateful for it. I don't know what point you're trying to make, that I'm uninformed about your situation, but I'm allowed to have an opinion on it. Same thing with abortion. I'll never have a baby, but guess who gets to vote on it? Me. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I know that people love to do the thing where it's like, oh, you're not even affected by this. Why do we even let you vote on it? That's how it used to be with you guys. None of you were in the workforce. Then why would we bother to let you vote on employment issues? Why would we bother to let women vote on anything? That, if you want to take the perspective of the level of involvement you have in something, you're allowed to have opinions on it. I don't know if we want to go down that route. That's not a fun route that has ever led our country into any meaningful debates. In all honesty, this is silly. And the people, by the way, the people they have up here who are speaking out in support of this bill, they all need to pat it up. I'm a Carrie fan. I'm in favor of women shaming women. I think it's like if she starts bleeding, no sympathy. You just start throwing pads at her and you're like, pat it up, girl. I love when women hate other women. It's the best. The only reason I love it is because it models men hating men. It is equality at its truest form.
As bad as the pain women experience during the second stage of labor or even a heart attack. And
who cares?
Yet we are told to suck it up. Across
you should.
The US, millions of women have to choose between working through unbearable pain, losing income they can't afford to go without, or tapping into a very limited number of sick days that they won't have if they have the flu or a doctor's appointment.
Sucks to be them. Haha.
Legislation to give workers up to 12 days of paid leave a year for reproductive health.
Fuck that.
Period pain, yes, but also menopause symptoms, IVF, miscarriages, and endometriosis.
Oh, so anything with the puss. Anything where you're just feeling a little, I don't know, maybe you're extra juicy that day. Maybe you're just feeling a little scratchy. Maybe you didn't shave right, and now you know what I mean? It feels like sandpaper down there. If you have any variation of pussy troubles, this bill is determined to make sure that you're able to suckle off the teat of welfare just like every other person is able to.
We are done being gaslit in the exam room. Health is not a luxury,
what?
And our pain is not an inconvenience. It is time to pass healthcare agenda that truly sees us, respects us, and protects us. This is about listening to us, listening to women when
they should make better points if they want to be listened to.
Say they are hurting and that they're in so much pain.
Oh.
And rejecting the dangerous idea that suffering is simply the price of being a woman.
It is. I'm so sorry to say it. What do you want me to do? You want me to take away your ovaries? You want me to try? I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry that God has cursed you or whatever you believe. Maybe the universe gave you your body, your perfectly designed feminine body. That's just like, oh, we should worship it because it creates life or whatever. Knock it off. All right. The only way that this whole human system works is if we recognize the fact every human has different degrees of offerage. And if you want to offer us, if you want to offer us work, if you want to offer us motherhood, if you want to offer us that you're showing up every day, or maybe you don't want to show up being a mother, you don't want to show up doing the traditionally feminine things. Okay, you want to be drafted in the military just like men. You want true equal rights. Do you want it to actually? Do you really want the equal rights that you claim to desire so much, or do you really just want to, like a buffet, pick out the little bits of manhood, the little bits of the patriarchy I don't love the idea of paying for the date. I don't love the idea of being the breadwinner. I don't love the idea. It's, you know, it's a come and go. It's a pick and choose. It's like we want men to be men, but we also want them to like acknowledge that women are the queens of everything. We want everybody to be like fearful of the feminine divine energy that exists when in all honesty, and I know this is going to sound nuts. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I'm just going to tell the truth. Women are no more special than men, and I understand that you might have a body that hates you and a body that deems you worthy of punishment because you didn't give it a baby this month. I understand that there is a plight that you live through every day because God has cursed you with a body that does not like you. I understand the divine feminine energy that flows through many, but that they have no idea how to control. It's a very, you know what I mean? You know exactly what I mean by the divine feminine energy. The way that many love to complain about a toxic masculine energy, the divine feminine energy, the idea of the queen, but the maniacal queen, it's a very common subset. Listen, we love to demonize men of power. We love to demonize the individuals who seize things, that go forth with what they like, because admittedly, it's like those are the types of spirits that rape. Those are the types of spirits that pillage. Those are the types of spirits that conquer other lands. We're willing and open to criticizing those individuals. However, when it comes to the feminine version of the conquerage spirit, the maniacal leader who wants everything to go her way, this is the maniacal leader who wants everything to go her way, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, your body gave you the lot that you were given. You were not struck down with a fever. You're not being cast into an open flame every month. Some women describe it as such, and you know what? God help them. If it really is that terrible, you know what I mean? Menopause symptoms. I mean, God help us. Like, this is, by the way, this is discriminatory towards golden women. This is discriminatory against women who honestly are more desirable. It's women who are past the menopause age. It's women who are like, they're refined in their knowledge. That's right, ladies and gents. I love the old women. The old women are great because guess what? They have more personality than the younger women. They have the gruffness that life has taught them, and they have the ability, the knowledge to have these interesting takes. They're not just like these little 20-year-old girls who just like listen to what you have to say, but then they're like, I have like this like a little more compassionate way of looking at it. No, like the golden women, the golden girls, as I love to call them, they will just tell it like it is. They're harder. They're a little more, they've learned from the world around them that they got to tell it like it is. These are the women that I want to see leading the feminine world. All right, listen here. The same way that you see divine masculine spirits where you're like, man, I wish that men could just look up to this man. He's not a creep. He's not somebody who like hates children. He's like a good fatherly figure. He's like a decent man, just wants to go out and work. I wish that there was a divine feminine spirit we can all look to. And I think there is, in all honesty. There is the Dorothy Zabornaks of the world that we can all find. The tough bitches who know how to tell it like it is, but they also are not going to be, they're like, yeah, period cramps suck, but guess what? I still showed up and I screwed those fucking rivets into planes. Those are the tough bitches. Those are the tough bitches that define the world. And in all honesty, if it's enough to where the period cramps are going to keep you at home, you are the type that was not, you weren't picked by the gods, unfortunately. You were not designated as the representative of the peak feminine spirit. I know what it's like to be an example of a not peak masculine form. You know what I mean? I'm not the most strong. I'm not the most capable in any context, but I have work to do. Every person does. They have something to strive for. And unfortunately, I think weakness is an unfortunate thing to accept. It's an unfortunate thing to accept in oneself. Women are treating themselves like disabled people. They're saying we are essentially like someone in a wheelchair. We deserve paid leave. We deserve something just because our uteral lining gets angry at us and decides to shed itself, and it produces this sort of, it's a lot of clots, and then there's that one piece that's like clear and whatnot. It's interesting. It's a fascinating way of life. It's a fascinating gender, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies, you're great. Ladies? Gentlemen, we're a little overrated. I'm going to be honest with you. You're the reason for the rape gap. You know what I mean? Can we get more women out there raping men? Can we just like close that gap? I know everybody wants to talk about the gender gap in pay, but it's like there's way more men out there that are just like they're going out, they're seeing people that are just like, I want you, nothing's gonna stop me. And why can't we just like close the gap? I want just as many women rapists as there are men. Ladies, this is your charge. This is your cross to bear. You let us define serial killers the last however many years, however many decades. You've let us lead you into state parks. I want women leading men into state parks and fucking chopping them up. I wish that I wish that women, more specifically, ladies, I'm talking to you. Eileen Wuornos is not a great representative. I want like a female Ted Bundy. I want a female Jeffrey Dahmer. I want a female who's just like, she's got the same aura that these men do, where like a Netflix TV show would be made about them, because god damn it, I know women are capable of this. I know women that are absolutely like, you see a lot of women that were just like, I know you're waiting to kill somebody. I want somebody. I'm holding out for a hero. Is there anybody out there? Please, somebody close this murder gap. It's horrific what's happening. All right, you know what else is horrific that's happening? Deadly protests in Kenya over the U.S. facility to contain Ebola. Now listen, if you want our citizens walking around your country with Ebola and you don't want a specialized institution where just Americans can get care, that's your problem, buddy. Sorry, they're going to be walking around your marketplace coughing on you and your baby. Unless you want them in that building, it's up to you. It's one of two options.
None of this. A court in Kenya has extended its block on a proposed U.S. Ebola quarantine facility after protests against it turned deadly. Hundreds of people took to the streets yesterday to demonstrate against the proposed 50-bed unit that would be used for Americans exposed to the virus. The protesters say the U.S. is shifting the Ebola risk onto people in Kenya. CBS News foreign correspondent Rami Inocencio is following the latest on the Ebola outbreak for us from London.
This is what health workers have been doing every day here in Bunia, the epicenter of this Ebola crisis. Now, at least 321 people have tested positive, and at least 4 dozen have died. The International Rescue Committee tells CBS News the current outbreak may have been spreading undetected as early as January. But there is hope Ebola can be beat again, as these frontline nurses did. Now declared Ebola-free after they contracted the disease while treating patients.
Congrats.
Out of this illness alive is an indescribable joy, said this medic.
That's awesome.
We spoke to Dr. Abdu Sebushishe, a frontline medic in the Congo.
When do you think this could potentially finally get under control?
We believe it can go beyond 6 months before this outbreak could be put under control.
Would you say that the outbreak is surging faster than the aid and assistance?
I love this guy for being honest, because Trump will tell you it'll be gone by next week. I love at least the fact that Afrikaans individuals are willing to go, it will be 6 months before this is contained.
I think the outbreak is outpacing the current response, and there are lots of adjustments that are being made to ensure that we catch up.
Stop it from spreading further out into the world. The U.S. attempting to halt it in Africa and at a quarantine facility in Kenya. 2 people were killed on Monday in protests against the Trump administration's attempts, a facility only for Americans.
Hell yeah.
And the International Medical Corps tells us that more testing absolutely needs to be done. Some people there even don't believe Ebola exists.
Well, listen, it's their right. God damn it, it's their right to believe that Ebola is not real. It is also their right to live out in the jungle for the rest of their lives. Okay, Christian representatives from several countries gathered at an Israeli Knesset, in the Israeli Knesset, during the Jerusalem prayer breakfast, where they offered prayers of repentance for what they describe as their nation's failure to support Israel and confront anti-Semitism. I didn't know that criticism and failure to support Israel was on the same par as anti-Semitism, but I guess, since I'm not supportive of Israel, I guess I'm an anti-Semite. I guess, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't support Israel and its ability to kill children, you're an anti-Semite too. You might as well start reading Mein Kampf. I got my copy coming in, in the mail later this week via eBay. Thank you for at least letting me know that that's who I am now.
I repent for Germany. I repent.
You repent for Germany. What did Germany do?
For Europe.
Korean government will stand with Israel.
Forgive us for all the things that we did not support Israel. Forgive the nation of Korea.
Forgive.
Who've spoken the word against Israel and people of Israel.
Look at these bastards in South Korea. It's like my grandpa, he didn't give his life to free your country, but he showed up. He was there. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, according to Donald Trump, he's not a loser because he didn't get kidnapped and he didn't get killed over there. So actually, he's one of the heroes. So I'm just going to say it. What have they done with the freedom that people like my grandpa went over there to do? What have they actually done other than, I don't know, create tentacle porn? And that's more Japan. I guess, what else did they do then? I literally can't think of anything because that's how boring the Koreans have gotten ever since my grandpa left that country. It's been boring as shit. I can prove it.
God forgive those evil things done towards people of God.
What?
Father God, as a German and European, I just ask forgiveness for the anti-Semitism all around that is growing, and we repent on behalf of it, and we bless Israel. And Father, I ask that you raise up righteous politicians, righteous influencers, righteous journalists, that they would speak the truth.
I am there. Don't worry. I am that righteous journalist that is speaking the truth. I'm speaking the truth about how ultra-Orthodox Israelis, they're now protesting. They're blocking roads and trains over the military draft because, listen, the Orthodox community has had this cut out for a while. So people think that Israel is just one solid, it's a mass of people that are all lined up with their beliefs. It's not accurate. There are ultra-Orthodox versions of Judaism where they're the people who wear the hats. They're the people who wear the dark cloak and whatnot. They cover their women up, not as much as the Arabs, but they cover them up. And they're the men who like have the really long sideburns and they have the hats and the beards. And now they're protesting because they're thinking, why would I ever need to join the IDF when I'm busy studying the Torah? This is their actual argument that they should not be required to fulfill the draft, where, if you didn't know, in Israel, every individual, every citizen, if you're not ultra-Orthodox, has to serve at least, I can't remember how long it is, in the IDF. They have to do a tour. That's why Hila Klein, wife to H3H3 Productions, Ethan Klein, went along with some of these things because she was in IDF. She was in it. Whatever. Here's a protest where these people are getting like, horses are running around them and shit. I love the jumping and dancing Israelis. They look like it's 9/11. Oh, he's getting his horse to like stomp over this guy. That's awesome. Because they look like fucking goons. I love that they're bringing out the water cannons to spray them. He flipped upside down from that fucking water cannon. Holy shit. This is awesome. I'm sorry. This is kick-ass. Look at this. Oh my god, I can hear like one of the little boys. He's like 12. You can see that his dad's like getting beat up and dragged away. This is awesome. Listen, if you don't like the fact that your country has a draft that you need to fulfill, maybe you shouldn't live in that country. Maybe you shouldn't support it. Maybe you should think. I don't know. I understand that they claim to be a very thinky religion, but they don't seem to think all too much. All right, I'm going to play, because I love the Jewish people so much, I'm going to play a word from one of their rabbis, Rabbi Ephraim Padawa, born in 1940, or Moshe Chaim Ephraim Padawa. He is the senior Haredi rabbi in London, and he is the rabbinical head of the Stamford Hill-based Union of Orthodox Hebrew congregations. Here he was being filmed by a British Channel 4 TV program dispatcher telling an abuse victim not to report his abuser to the police, citing the prohibition of mizara. Mizara, if you don't know, by the way, is to hand over. It's the action of handing in which a Jew reports the conduct of another Jew to a non-rabbinic authority. So basically, Jewish people, according to their own text, are only to deal with Jewish crimes within their Jewish circles. It's a very sick, very like, oh, we're going to intermingle, only our people can judge our people idea. It's under the circumstance it's forbidden by rabbinic law. And okay, let's just play his exact words. He's going, what kind of issue?
Someone who did bad things to me when I was younger. Someone who you may know of. Who sexually abused me when I was younger, when I was a child. And I'm looking for your advice, to be honest, what to do. think it's someone you might have dealt with in the past. I think it's someone you might have dealt with in the past.
I imagine I know whom you are talking. And if I'm correct, we are dealing with this. So,
How is it being dealt with?
the man under control.
Are you involved in it with him? Are you involved in it, in dealing with it?
I was involved, but
Would you think maybe, is it good idea to speak to the police about it?
oh, no.
No? Why?
It's misera.
Serious issue.
Yes, but not police.
Not the police.
One should not tell lies.
I was asked him about going to the police. He says no, because it's Nazira. And this concept of Nazira means it's forbidden to report a fellow Jew to the non-Jewish authorities. And here Rabbi Padawa is saying that applies even when you're talking about allegations of child sex abuse.
That's very Catholic, very Christian of them to be like, just keep it within the church. We don't deal with it outside. It's very like Christians treat themselves like the Jews treat themselves, where it's like, maybe we should deal with it inside the church. Our little community doesn't need the external forces of any government telling it what to do.
Even if you think it may be happening to other people.
No, not police.
And, how can you reassure yourself that this man is not doing it to others?
Look, the police also can't assure you. The police is not the solution. Disgusting.
Under no circumstances.
Rabbis are disgusting pedophiles just like priests. It's perfectly fine for me to say it. I'm not anti-Semitic for saying it.
Now I got a question. If the police found out about it and they called me in, what would you say to me?
Heaven forbid. Let's hope that wouldn't happen. You shouldn't do anything that can lead to the police. How Christian of you.
If someone else went to the police on him and I was called, what do I do then?
Let's hope that wouldn't happen. Well, they're done. All right, ladies and gents. I mean, can you imagine? I love rabbinical Jews. I love rabbinical Jews. They make some of the best television you've ever watched in your life. But let me make it very, 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 very clear. I'm not an anti-Semite just because I find a religion disgusting because it permits and often encourages the sacrifice, rape, murder of children. I think that we should just call it what it is. These people have tunnels underneath their synagogues. These Christians are raping, sex trafficking children. It's disgusting. Religions are some of the biggest corporate entities. We've never realized they're corporate entities because we treat them as though they have any standing over your morality. They really don't. They're run by the most absolutely tyrannical, disgusting people you've met in your life. Whatever. Let's move on to our final story. If you want to look more into Rabbi Moshe Chaim Ephraim Padawa, he is, in London. You could probably get in a one-on-one meeting with him if you're kind enough and if you're a member of his community. Whatever, ladies and gentlemen, I think that we should just cover this final one. A $26 million taxpayer-funded Skid Row campus is now under fire over drug overdoses. Listen. This, basically, it's a services hub in downtown Los Angeles. As neighborhood leaders and law enforcement, they're sounding the alarm over an explosion of violent crime and drug overdoses located on Crocker Street. Like Crocker? Like from Fairly Odd Parents. The recently opened Skid Row Care Campus was pitched by county officials as the state-of-the-art sanctuary, offering low-barrier resources to the city's unhoused population. Homeless. The bum population. I love how we call them unhoused now. There's like a weird... It's like prostitutes. prostitutes. We can't call them prostitutes anymore. Suddenly they're sex workers. Okay, yeah, they're real confident and they're full of life and they're full of energy and they really love the job they're doing, whatever. I'm sure they do. That's, Sodom and Gomorrah happened for a reason. Anyways, instead, the facility has been dubbed a meth mansion by furious community critics who say the surrounding streets have been quickly devolved into an unmitigated 24/7 disaster zone. At the center of the raging controversy is the facility's strict adherence to harm reduction. Listen, harm reduction, if you hear these two words together, keep in mind these policies include handing out clean needles, pipes, and other drug paraphernalia to users without requiring them to enter substance abuse treatment. This, in general, is a disgusting practice that we've only proven. It only lowers overdoses. It only lowers AIDS transmission rates. And people will go, well, that's enough of a reason to do it. That's enough of a reason to do it. We don't want people to stop doing drugs. We just don't want them to die. They act like that's the real issue. The people dying is the issue. It's not the fact that they are using drugs that turn their skin into crocodile skin. Listen, Los Angeles Police Department reports that conditions around the campus have already deteriorated dramatically, with officers responding to the surrounding blocks nearly 700 times in just a few months this year. Even more alarming to law enforcement is the severe concentration of violence, including 4 separate homicides recorded right outside the facility's doors in a 4-month span. The campus is operated by 3 prominent local health nonprofits. Community records reveal the site was explicitly designed to restrict law enforcement monitoring. What? It was also marked eventually to serve as a sanctioned safe consumption site for supervised drug use, which remains illegal under California state law. Frustrated business owners and local residents have reported witnessing a continuous cycle of open-air drug dealing, rampant overdoses, and street fires. It sounds like Minneapolis. They're demanding an immediate city intervention, pointing out that while the facility closes its doors at 10 o'clock every night, the surrounding neighborhood is left to deal with the volatile and dangerous fallout until morning. Because it's like turning off. Imagine if in Ghostbusters, instead of like closing the shop every night, they like turned off the machine that held all the ghosts. So instead of holding all the ghosts in one building, they just it's breeze, and they spread out all through New York City, breeze, and then like suddenly Slimer is eating hot dogs out of a cart, but it's like a homeless guy who's like a meth out of his mind. He's like smoking with this little bubbler device. It's sitting in a prescription pill bottle somehow. It's like, how is he getting that to burn? They're monsters. They're less than human, unfortunately. They're at a certain point of drug addiction, you become a less than human. You become this sort of like a mannequin. You become more like a decoration piece for the city that you occupy. You're not like a participating member of it. You just collect the money that the government is willing to hand out to you. It's disgusting. Whatever.
Drug use, rising violence, and a growing sense that no one is stepping up to stop it. On Friday, Fox 11 exposed disturbing scenes outside of the Skid Row Care Campus, a downtown LA harm reduction center. Fox 11's Gina Silva joins us here in studio with more on this growing problem in a story you'll see only on Fox 11. Gina?
That's right, Laura. Residents and the LAPD say conditions around the $26 million taxpayer-funded facility have deteriorated dramatically. So we reached out to the elected officials responsible for overseeing the area and also funding the facility.
Drug deals in broad daylight. People openly getting high on the sidewalk.
Fuck yeah.
Overdoses right outside the Skid Row Care Campus, a taxpayer-funded facility that distributes drug paraphernalia as part of its harm reduction services.
Disgusting.
That are homeless die from a drug overdose. So I don't know how continuing to enable people like this is really helping.
After residents and the LAPD sounded the alarm about violence, drug use, and 4 homicides near this harm reduction campus.
This all goes back to the AIDS epidemic, where we decided the issue was not that people were switching needles, not the idea that people are doing these drugs in the first place. The idea was like, well, we should just give these guys, if they're going to do the drugs, we at least want them to use clean needles, so we need to fund needle programs. Like, what person thinks that in order to solve the prostitution problem, you make condoms free to the people who are prostitutes? What are we doing?
We reached out to Councilwoman Isabel Jurado because Skid Row Care Campus is in her district. She issued a statement that says in part, "We cannot solve Skid Row by criminalizing poverty or pushing people from block to block.
Yes, you can.
The goal must be both. meaningful services and housing for people in crisis, and a safe, healthy, and well-supported environment for everyone who lives and works in the neighborhood.
Well, they don't live in that neighborhood. They've settled into that neighborhood, much like Israelis settling in the West Bank, and they don't work in that neighborhood unless you consider work to be them getting money from open-air drug markets.
Have her full statement up on our website.
I have mentioned many times to the council member, and on one occasion, I was able to drive her around the location. And I realized that she knew just how bad the situation was. And one of the things that I asked of her and her staff that day was, could they think about possibly harm reduction sites, bringing them under the city's conditional use permit ordinance?
A conditional use permit requires businesses like bars and nightclubs to prove to the city they can operate without disrupting the surrounding community.
That's good. Good idea.
Lopez proposed applying that same standard to harm reduction sites.
Maybe just stop with harm reduction sites. Like, I think that's where we can do that first. I'm not encouraging the idea that we should have like flights of heroin, you know what I mean? Much like beer flights at a bar, you get a tasting, like they give you a little tiny tray and it's like 4 little glasses of beer. We need to stop doing that with heroin addicts. It's not a great idea. It's disgusting.
Hudala's response?
Whether it was the city council office or the city attorney, neither one has moved on my suggestion.
We also contacted all 5 members of the LA County Board of Supervisors.
Item 17 is before you.
The body that voted to fund this campus.
Motion carries.
None of the supervisors would go on camera.
It's all women. I'm sorry. It's no judgment, but if it was an all-man league that approved this bill into law, I would have pointed that out too. It's all women. I'm sorry. It's terrible. Not even saying that the fact that this league is staffed by women is a bad idea. Maybe it is, given the fact that this was, approved. But whatever. It's just an interesting little factoid.
Not a surprise to Estela Lopez, Executive Director of the Downtown Industrial Business Improvement District.
What is it going to take for the power of the city and the county to step up and defend the safety of this community, both for the people who live indoors and the people who live outdoors?
We did receive this statement and told to attribute it to the County of Los Angeles. We recently increased campus security and expanded outreach on nearby streets to connect individuals to housing and support. The Skid Row Care Campus provides critical services to the community, including health care, case management, showers, and connection to housing.
Healthcare, case management, showers. You're lucky if they are interested in case management or connection to housing and subsidization. Who's to say that they deserve subsidies? Since when did somebody who shows up to your community and proves to be nothing but a leech deserves the government subsidies? Who decided that? I don't know. I certainly didn't, and I know that you didn't because you're a common sense individual. And you know how I know that? You sticked around until the end, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much for giving me the time, the energy, and honestly just allowing me to creatively influence your brain with these radio waves. It's a fun time. We're in a very experimental time in culture where this is the only way that ideas can really be shared without the idea that maybe like I'll get thrown to the pavement by a police officer because I'm being anti-Semitic in public. I can't go out on a soapbox and preach these ideas. I need to speak into a microphone. That's just my favorite. It's a preferred lane of communication, and it's obviously your preferred lane of communication because you stuck around, and I appreciate it. Thank you so very much for your viewership. I hope that you can be here for the next episode. We'll be covering the news as it drops, and you'll be hearing me rant, giving you truth as it comes to my brain, and that's all I really have to say. Subscribe if you want to be there for it. Like if you liked it. We do Monday through Friday. Ring the bell for notifications. In the meantime, I have been Ollie Vogt Larson with your Brain on Air. Thank you so very much for listening. I'll catch you in the next episode, and bye-bye.